Vande Gujarat.
Very good morning, everyone. Again, I hope we are bringing some positivity in your life through our program on confidence building in public speaking. I also wish you're using these positive traits in your life to build up not only your public speaking and communication skills, but also confidence in all the arenas of your life. Before we start, I would like to recap what we did in last few sessions. In our first session, we talked about what is public speaking and why is your why very important in public speaking, or for that say any arenas of your life. A strong why gets you going, keeps you persistent, and the consistency takes you nearer to success every time. Second day, we talked about how do you introduce yourself or to anyone else. While introducing yourself, it can be of three types. Formal, a setup wherein you are giving interviews or kind. Second is informal, where you are representing yourself in front of club or your group of friends. Third is a quick one, where you talk to a stranger or person of your importance in your life in an elevator or where you have less than a minute's time. To introduce someone else, you have three kinds again. First, wherein you introduce a speaker. It has to be very brief because speaker will do most of the talking. Second is where you present an award. Here, the introduction is elaborated because you need to give due importance to the winner of the award. And third one is where you represent someone or talk about someone in a funeral or marriage. So that was the first 2 days. Last day, we talked about structurizing our speeches, which is opening, body, and conclusion. We also mentioned what were the types of speeches. Just a quick recall: informative, motivational, inspirational, storytelling, humorous, and some more types. We also discussed how important is to have an amazing opening and a fantastic conclusion. Amazing opening because this will decide whether the listeners will listen to you attentively or not. Amazing conclusion because this will make the audience remember you long after your speech is over. Also, we discuss takeaways or conclusion or call for actions are equally important in your speeches because this is what makes your purpose get solved. We also talked about how any speech can be defined between why are you giving that speech, what is the content of the speech, and how it will benefit them. So why, what, and how defines your speech. We also discussed moving between opening, body, conclusion, or from one point to another, or from main point to sub point. We need a proper transition so that it feels very soothing to the audience and it is easy for you to remember. We also discuss about general purpose and specific purpose of any speech. General purpose is whether you want to inform the audience, whether you want to motivate the audience, whether you want to inspire the audience, whether you want to audience to laugh or something else. Specific purpose is the topic of your speech which defines what you want to do. For example, if you want to inform something about climate change, general purpose is information and specific purpose is talking on climate change. Easiest way to do this is put yourself in someone else's shoes, which means right here we can think, if I would have been the audience to this speech, how would I have felt? Also, try to express your thoughts, never try to impress the audience. Audience will eventually get impressed if you are able to express clearly and loudly. We also talked about word count. With any speech, how long a speech is, accordingly we can write the speech or redraft the speech by number of words. Typical number of words for any speech is 100 words per minute. It of course varies person to person and speech to speech. For example, informative speech could be 550 words for 5 minutes instead of 500, and humorous speech could be 400 words instead of 500 for a 5-minute speech. Because in informative, you do not wait for audience applause, acknowledgements, or notes. And in humorous, you have to wait for their pauses, for their reception, and mostly for the audience to laugh. We also summarized by telling opening, body, conclusion as opening is you tell them what you're going to tell them, body is you actually tell them, and conclusion you tell them what you have told them. So this was a quick recap of what we did in last few days. Today we're going to talk about a very important aspect of public speaking, and which is vocal variety and tonality. Vocal variety, modulation, tonality, these are many things which define a person in delivery aspect. It is always said that only 15% of content, 50% of voice, and 35% of body language comprises of a complete speech. Yes, you heard that right. 15% of content on which we spend maximum time. And that is required because if your content is right, if you have confidence on your content, it will definitely reflect on your voice as well as body language. So work very thoroughly on all these aspects. Despite the fact the weight it carries might be a lot different, but it has to be thoroughly, and that is why we have given 3 sessions on the content part. If the content is strong, you will be able to deliver also very effectively. Now we are moving on to delivery part. The major important aspects of delivery in broad categories is, first of all, vocal modulation, and second is body language. We'll be talking about vocal varieties today. To make it very simple, we'd like to put it as vocal variety is something which should make your speech very soothing to ears of the audience. For example, what do you want to say? Do you want to listen voice modulation? Do you want to learn public speaking? And the other way to do it is, here we are set up to teach you voice modulation in public speaking, which in turn will give you confidence for your overall personality. So, soothing, and the first part which we did was very harsh. Probably this is not the kind of attitude audience expect from their speaker. So if you want to put it in very simple words or in just one line, it should be soothing to audience's ears. And how do we make it soothing? We'll dive deep into it. To make your speech soothing, first of all, as we said earlier also, put yourself in the shoes of the audience. By this, I mean here that if you have compassion for the audience, for example, I have been benefited hugely by public speaking and communication skills. And that is why I want every one of you out here who's listening on UGC, on the TV channel or YouTube or Facebook, to incorporate this skill in your life, because this has changed my life and has the capacity to change your life as well. And that compassion brings me the genuineness and authenticity to present this in front of you. So always have compassion for your listeners, and if you really authentically, genuinely want to help them, to get your ideas across them, to convey your expressions very fruitfully, you need to be compassionate for your audience. Now this is the backdrop of how you talk about, or what should be going in your mind while addressing the audience. Now, to give it the scientific aspect, what comprises of vocal variety, voice modulation, and tonality is, first thing is volume. The volume could be as soothing as this, or it could be as loud as this. In both cases, it would not impact the feeling of audience for you, but it would definitely impact the emphasis you want to put for a particular word, sentence, or an incident. You go low when you want to talk general. You put your volume little high just to make sure that audience realizes this is an important point and they need to take note of it. We'll also talk about many more things which defines the pitch and the volume. But right now, just understand the one thing. If I'll keep on talking in a single monotonous voice, it would not make that impact. But if at important points I raise my voice a little up to the extent where it still soothes your audience, then it will make the desired impact. So to use your voice, use your volume to highlight a particular point or emphasize a particular word or sentence, you can use your volume. You can low or high. And then there is a second aspect of this, which is called pitch. Now, volume is raising your volume low and high, and pitch is something which can be easily made understood by something musical in your voice. For example, if I'm super excited, this is how I will talk. And if I'm going to decide if I'm sad, am I going to talk something about sadness or misery? This is how I will talk. Now, this is difference between the volume and pitch. So, excitement, energy, exuberance, enthusiasm, it all falls under your vocal expression of pitch. Of course, it is helped with body language. Whenever you're excited, you put your shoulders strong and you sit upright. When you're depicting sadness or misery, there is a low mellow down, not only your volume, but most importantly, pitch. So that is how you define volume and pitch. Pitch is basically more musical quality of your voice, where you depict excitement or misery on the other hand, and volume is you raise your voice to make a point. Third important point is rate. Rate is the speed at which we talk. Now, as we discussed many types of speeches, one of them was informative. If you want to give too much of information, it is okay, you be fast. For example, you can be fast if you want to give too much of information. Hundreds of cities, thousands of countries, millions of people are really benefiting from public speaking and communication skills. But it is also important to learn slowly, gradually, and consistently. So what I did here was I talked very fast when I was giving information, and I talked slow when I wanted to give really important information, or at places where I wanted you to stop and think and implement something. For example, if I'm giving an informative speech where I'm going to give facts and figures about wealth management, how Sensex has worked out, how mutual funds are working out, or how PMS growth bonds are working out, I can go a little fast. But at points which really impact the audience, I need to go slow. So other than volume, pitch, you also decide on the speed of your speech. Then comes the quality of your voice. You also need to work very, very much on the quality of your words. How do you do that? First of all, to get to know if the voice of my quality, the quality of my voice, the quality of my words, the quality of my speech is good or not, you need to listen to yourself. You can do that by recording or video recording your speech. By quality, I mean there might be some words which might get overlapped, or it does not get pronounced properly, or I'm speaking way too fast to understand this, trying to put up accent or something like this. Or I want to be clear with every word I say. Not because with every word I want to make an impact, but I want every word to be important for the listener. And this could also be done while writing a speech. If you feel a particular word is not important, let it go. If you feel a particular sentence can be done without, let it go. And that's how you define the quality of your speech. The quality of your voice is mainly defined by the clarity of your words. So quality here can be defined broadly by clarity. Of course, it is catalyzed by, or it is complemented by the volume, the pitch, the rate, and many more things. But quality can broadly be defined by the clarity of words. If the words which I say are not audible to audience, it not understood to audience, probably it is not making any sense, or all your efforts go in vain. So quality is very important when you talk about any speech. It cannot be a very important speech. It cannot be very speech of impact if your words are not clear enough. So working on your quality could easily be done by hearing your voice. If you feel that the words which I am saying are probably not understood properly, what you can do is you can slow down the speed. When you slow down the speed and give impact and importance to every word, slowly, gradually, the quality of your sound, the quality of your words or sentences improves. And from that point, you can start increasing the speed of your speech. It is exactly like driving a car. When my dad was teaching me how to drive a car, he always said, learn to drive slow. Over the time, you'll definitely learn how to drive it fast. But the whole idea is the nitty-gritties, the minutes, the detailings of learning, whether you be driving a car or speaking in public, start slow. The idea is to be clear, concise, and easily understood. We also talked about the choice of words. Many of the times we try to use some amazing words like flabbergasted, rendezvous. We try to impress the audience by our rich vocabulary. If we are not comfortable with those words, it is better to use a simpler word for that. Always remember, not just quality in terms of volume, voice, or pitch, but also in terms of clarity is what defines the quality of your speeches, quality of your voice. A very important aspect of voice modulation or voice clarity or tonality of your voice is also a pause. A pause at the right time defines you as a speaker. It is very crucial or very critical at times to give a pause right before any important statement. A pause also for you or as an audience to digest a given statement. For example, if I say something which is very important in terms of data, it will be like this. Do you know how much percentage of Indian population is still living in villages? 70%. And that pause right before 70% gave the impact of that word 70%. So giving an impact to any word or sentence or incident, pauses are very, very crucial. You can also try putting the pauses after the statement, which is 70% of public in India stays in villages. Is it not huge? So after giving the important crucial information, you give a pause so audience understands that okay, that was an important information and we need to either note it down mentally or on paper. So pauses play a very, very crucial role. It is not only about information, it is also about humor. Whenever you want to use humor, you cannot do without pauses. For example, if you want to say something funny, and you might have been to numerous stand-up comedy shows or humorous shows like the one we have on TV right now or the open mics. Always notice there is a punchline either followed by a pause or either used right after the pause. So pauses are very, very important to make the impact of any word or sentence. For example, 14 years of marriage, sarcasm is now my second language. So how humor goes, we might dive deep sometime later, but humor is generally you set up something and then give it a twist. You want audience to think in one direction and then you exactly opposite the direction, which means you go in exact opposite direction. And this is how it happens. While twisting the plot, you need to give that important pause. It could be of various forms and format. If from now onwards you start uh, observing my pauses in the speech, you'll get to know much better. It is not only about humor or importance in any other aspect, but also pauses at all the places, when given deliberately, does impact the value of your speech, and that is why it falls under the quality of your speech. Very important aspect of communication skill also is in all three aspects which we talked about: voice modulation, vocal variety, and tonality of voice. I'll give you an example. If you're talking one-to-one with a person, and it could be a business deal, it could be your friendship, it could be among your relationships, or anywhere where you want to make an impact, or you want to make that connect, which you want to probably change your acquaintances to your contacts and develop your network. Easiest way to do it is match the frequency of their voice. How do you do it? So let's say if I'm talking to you very smoothly and you are not of that nature, you're talking, your general attitude is very aggressive, you're very excited all the time and you're full of energy. But if you see someone who is mellowed down and you come up to their frequency, you have more chances to get connected with that person. Try it when you want to make that impact next time in your one-to-one communication. Try to match the frequency. If they are speaking louder, you can go little louder than what you were speaking earlier. There's a catch. Never try to do mimicry of that person. That might offend them. So there's a fine line between matching the frequency and copying a person. Always try to get in sync. And of course, you learn this with practice. But what I'm trying to do here is make you observant about this trick and try using it slowly and gradually in your day-to-day communication. We always see there are some people who talk very fast. They keep on going fast, and at times it is very difficult to even understand. Then you can also start going little faster to match the frequency and pace. It matches not only your frequency, but at some level it gets you connected with that person. So vocal variety is not only important in terms of public speaking where you're talking to 100 or more people, but also when you're talking one-to-one. Always remember that there has to be a balance. You cannot go overboard. If he is shouting and you shout, probably that leads to some argument or a fight. But if he is talking smooth and you start talking smooth, gets you a good rapport. If he's talking faster and you talk faster, it gives you a good rapport. Always you have to put your due diligence also in place. That is it the thing which is to be matched, or is it only the few points to get started with? We're talking about balance. It is also needed that you balance the volume, which means I cannot always keep on going so smooth. I'm going slow so that every word is audible and everybody is hearing what I say. But at times I need to raise my volume and keep on saying what I am saying. But if I keep on saying what I am saying in high volume all the time, probably it will not make that impact. It has to be balanced. By balance, I also mean that give your voice a non-monotonous tone. What do I mean by this? If you keep on saying at the same speed, same pitch, same scale, same volume, it gets very monotonous. For lack of better words, I would say it gets boring at times. So try to have that energy level, up and down volumes, up and down pitch, high and low, speed, fast and slow. With this, it will make your speech exciting. Even you will be energized and enthusiastic about giving that speech or talking to someone in person to person. So balance of everything is required. Try not to be monotonous in your speeches, and that is what makes your speech interesting. To sum it up all, end of the day, all the points which we've learned we need to make our voice pleasant. I cannot be harsh all the time, talking like crazy guy and keep on murmuring things which may or may not make any sense, and it is harsh to ears. So it has to be pleasant to ears. I might raise my volume sometime here and there, but end of the day, your overall speech, your overall voice should be pleasant. The quality should be good. It should be clear and it should be pleasant. Also, very important aspect is natural. So we earlier talked about being authentic, being general. Many a times we see that we are not the same person on stage and off stage. How do we notice that? Many a times in my starting career at public speaking, I used to have that accent whenever I used to go on the stage. This is not me, but I'm trying to impress someone. And that is not natural. What my natural talk is, the way I'm talking right now. So if you are one person on stage and off stage, you are authentic, you are genuine. Whatever you speak in your natural tone of voice. So not just being pleasant, but being natural also. Because if you are not natural, if you're not authentic, if you're not genuine, somewhere or other, public will notice it. And in public speaking, you cannot hide things because you are being constantly gazed at, not just by one eye, but numerous eyes in the public. Also, a major factor of emphasizing so much on vocal variety and tonality of voice is it makes you more expressive. Now, expressions can be coming from your face or your gestures, but at times, even your words are as expressive. When I say words are as expressive, I go slow because I want to make an impact. I can be excited, energetic, enthusiastic, exuberant by not only my hands, but also my words. And which makes me feel I am expressive enough. And audience also understands the expression by the tone of your voice. And it need not be monotonous, as we said. If I am depicting something sad, people are dying in Ukraine, what are we doing about it? Is there anything we can do? Is there anything we can help them? So you go low in, and it expresses the grief, the sadness, the misery which I have for people dying somewhere in the world. So your words, your volume, energy, excitement shows whether you are high on energy or low on energy, whether you are too excited, too happy, or something which is sad. So this is how you work on being expressive through your vocal variety, voice modulation, and tonality of voice. Sometimes you even have to be forceful. What do I mean by forceful? If I want you to take that action right now, if I'm being impacted so badly that out here, if I am coming and doing something, if I'm putting my time and you're not listening to me, I have to be forceful. If I'm giving my 1 hour daily and you are not making any use of it, I want to be forceful with you. Show of hands is one thing. Tonality of voice also give that force. I want you to do this because it is very important, not just for you and me, but the world around. Force again comes in voice modulation. So by force, you also give the emergency or the urgency of any particular idea, thought, or word, but also it gives the impact to your overall speech. As we earlier talked, words have to be very clear. Easiest way to use clarity in words is simplicity. Simpler the words, clear it is. And otherwise, if you are too much habitual already with using complex words, you can use it in your speech as well. The whole idea is you should be comfortable with those words. So clarity of words, clear speech, expressive, you can be natural, at times forceful, but overall quality should be very good. It should be soothing. It should be pleasant to the listeners. Coming to this, I would give food for thought to everybody in the viewers, that while writing a speech, you need to keep the tonality also in mind. Where are the points you can change your voice, your modulation, your speed, your pitch, your clarity or forcefulness in your speech? To have that in mind, somewhere back of your mind, while writing the speech as well. Another important aspect of using the voice modulation effectively is proper use of breathe. How do you breathe properly? Now, no one needs to teach you breathing, but if you breathe deeply, it gives enough breath in your lungs to speak long sentences. And also, when we talked about pauses are a good way to take that breath in, inhale, and that is how you have good command over your language. I'll give you an example. Many a times while speaking continuously, what can happen is you can get choke on your throat, and you need to either breathe or you need to gulp in so that your throat is ready again, or it gets lubricated. So the idea is, if you breathe properly, you don't have to take that unrequired pause. Deliberate pauses will do it for you. Always remember, breathing is an important aspect of public speaking. So breathe deeply right before when you start your speech. Many times we see that if you're called on stage, you run and go towards the stage. And then when I wanted to say that you are looking for breath. Instead, go out there, take 2 deep breaths. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talk about. So it gives a much better impression on audience, and you feel confident the way you have started. Remember, we said first 15 seconds, audience decides whether they want to hear the speaker or not. So use extensive research on your breath before you start your speech or while delivering your speeches. Also, breathe. The breath gives you energy to keep on going. It would be too different to let you know how breathing works, but always see that when you are just right before the speech, if you want to breathe deeply, your stomach should be inflated, should be coming out when you breathe in. And when you breathe out, your stomach should go in. So that is the right way of breathing right before any exercise or even public speaking. Once again, because it is important, when you breathe in, your stomach should come out. When you breathe out, your stomach should go in. That is the deepest breath you can take. During the speech, how do you breathe? You generally ask a question. It could be giving you a space for breathing, or it could also be giving you time to think about your next line. And most importantly, it gives you that pause. When you ask a question, you have time enough also to listen. Of course, you need to listen to the audience, but you can work on your thoughts. And there are also small pauses when required. You can use the deliberate pauses. So if you want a long pause for your thoughts to be worked upon, you ask a question. If you want a very small pause to breathe and think over a small thought, you can just give a deliberate pause. And that is how you work on your breath and pauses. So we talked about many important aspects, and for me, every aspect is very important in public speaking, because slowly little things add on to make a huge impactful speech. For me, one thing which also defines that how much I like a particular speaker is energy. Most of the times, I love people who are full of energy while on the stage, and it also gives you the energy. So if you are full of energy, it also reflects from the audience. Audience also is equally vibrant, and that is what excites me all the time. It is Of course, complemented by your body language, but your words should be full of energy. Of course, there has to be balance, modulation, highs and lows, but when you are energetic, it reflects on your audience. It gives you the confidence, it gives you energy all the more to perform better. So, work on your energy. We also talked about faking it till you making it, and it is a little bit contradicting to what we said as being genuine, being authentic. So, to reiterate the fact, you be genuine and authentic with your content, your data, with your energy and excitement, you can fake it, and fake it till you make it. It is always said that positive affirming that I am the most confident person in this room will slowly and gradually make you the most confident person you know. So try to be high on energy, not just when you are talking in public or talking in person to person. Be high on energy wherever you are, so people look forward to meet you. Understand this: a person low in energy, dull, always talking about sad things, not so positive, might not be liked by many. So be energetic, and energy need not always be volumes. Energy in excitement, it should show from your eyes that you are energetic and you're giving that positive energy to everyone around you. Remember, we talked about closing your eyes and thinking about one person in your life, in your friend circle, in your relatives, in your acquaintances, office areas, or your college, who is very charming, who's so charismatic that everyone wants to have him or her in their group. Everyone wants him or her to be called in their parties. That person definitely have this trait of being energetic all the time. And by energy, I mean the positive energy, looking at things very positively. And it reflects, it shows from your face. So energy is one thing we should definitely also work upon. Putting it a little more emphasis on pauses, I would like to say that pauses attracts the audience's attention. When I stop, audience will again come back to see what has happened. Why is it stopped all of a sudden? And you get all the attention, and then you can make your point. Many a times, if you feel that your speech is either going monotonous or the data is not so interesting, it might be feeling boring, you pause. If it is boring to you, it is equally boring to me, but important. So pauses get you attention all of a sudden, all the way back. As I said, pauses of course can be used as a time where you can think, and most importantly, when you read something, pauses can also be used as punctuation marks. So for example, very small pause is like a comma. A big pause is like a full stop. I'll give you an example. Me and Rahul were going on a cycle ride. So me and Rahul, comma, were going on a cycle ride. Full stop. So very small pause, acts as a comma, very long pause, and not so very long, but adequate pause acts as a full stop. So in a way, person who is listening to you exactly can write what you are saying. And that is very important point, that if you say things so clearly, so loudly and adequate in high volume, a person who is listening to you should be able to write what you are saying. And if you want him to write what you are saying, punctuations like comma and full stop can be very well utilized by your pauses. Pauses, of course, when we talked about breathe, it gives you the ample breathing space where you can inhale and start all over again. So pauses again are very important. And as we also talked, not just for breathing or raising some important points or getting that impact, but also putting some emphasis on a particular word requires pauses. It could be before or after. So use pauses very effectively. Coming back to the main point of voice modulation, tonality, and giving importance to any particular word, sentence, or incident, we'll give you an example. For example, the example which we discussed yesterday was she's the winner. Now, she's the winner is a normal sentence. It could be said in multiple styles. Even while you are practicing any of your speech, you can try putting different words in different styles. Try different words with different styles. Try putting words with different styles, and you'll get to know the impact between the same sentence repeated in 3 different ways and which one is the most impactful. So try using those change in voice modulation, voice clarity, volume, pitch, scale by saying it differently. Here, if we talk about she is the winner, I'll tell you how it can be said differently by putting in different emphasis on different words. She is the winner, which means there are many, but she is the winner. She is the most important word. And then the other way of doing it, she is the winner, which means there had been winners in the past, there will be winners in the future, but right now she is, in present tense, the winner. Another way of saying it is she is the winner. Again, there had been many winners, but this one is really important. She is the winner. Last way of doing it is she is the winner, which means there are many people in the room, but she is the one who is winner. So a simple sentence, she is the winner, said it in 4 different styles, created different impact, and the meaning itself changes. What is more important? She is more important, her winning is more important, she is the winner right now more important, and she is the winner of all times, the winner. That is important. So this is how the modulation can change. How it could be done? Only by practice. The way I said 4 sentences, you'll get many more sentences like this. Here we have put the emphasis on a particular word. You can also give emphasis on punctuation marks. Let's eat grandma was a very famous line earlier. Let's eat grandma, which means nothing. But let's eat grandma, which means after let's eat, you are putting a comma and then grandma. The line is from a famous cartoon movie, 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐻. Let's eat grandma means grandma, let's eat. Let's eat grandma means those were the inhabitants of ancient times, and they were saying we don't have food, let's eat the grandma itself. So changes the meaning altogether. This is how you can use pauses in form of punctuations in your sentences. So to be very clear, precise, concise with your thoughts, words, and actions, you need to have the whole idea of how vocal variety and voice modulation works. Also, the different kinds of speeches which we have read, which were motivational, inspirational, storytelling, humorous, informative, negotiation, all types of speeches will also have different kinds of vocal variety. So you have a common vocal variety, and then you go high and low, then you go fast and slow, then you go fast and low on your pitches also. But there is a base balance of your speech, volume, rate, pitch. That has to be there. You define that base somewhere and then you go high and low around it. That base can also be shifted up and down. So if you are an athlete talking about your experience or expedite which you have ever done to you, all the way you are excited, somewhere you get low when you get hit by a ball and fallen down. But overall you are very excited, and sometimes you are even more excited when you have punched someone very heavily or got that 6. So the balance line or the baseline also can be up and down, which is according to the kind of speech you are giving. If you're giving motivational speech, you have to be very high at the end of the speech where you are on conclusion. Starting where you can be low when you are going through the bad phase part of the speaker who is the story about which you're going to motivate, but the base has to be changing also. I cannot be talking about a story which motivates at this base level all the time. I can go high and low, but this cannot be my balance line. My balance line has to be neutral, so that from there I can go very high and very low. If I'll start with low and my baseline is low or my balance line is low, to go even low, it will be very difficult for me. So, of course, too short a time to understand all this, but broadly, you need to practice, and practice with variety. Not just with your choice of words or your energy, but also the tone of your voice. So, different types of speeches, the baseline also varies. If you are high on energy, a person who is telling a motivational or inspirational story about his athlete career, your baseline has to be strong, and then it is to go stronger from there or lower from there. And if you are giving a normal informative speech, it has to be a baseline very normal, neutral. There you can go up and low when required. If you are depicting a sad, mysterious news of, let's say, some wars in the past where there were genocides and murders in lakhs, it has to be low. And it has to even go lower when you're depicting some important points. And you can only go up to certain high while talking about. You cannot go, and then Hitler came. No. You have to. So it has to come with practice. You have to learn how your baseline can be managed. So baseline is your normal balance line, up, above or lower to which you go. So it all depends on the kinds of speeches as well. Another way of doing it is also by using your choice of words. So by choice of words, I mean, if I say, I'm having a really bad day, but I want to give that impact, you can do it by saying, I was down and dusted. Same thing, almost same thing said by two synonyms, but it gives that impact. So that, and of course it has to be having a different tonality altogether. So when you use triads or these kind of words like down and dusted, I was flabbergasted, or I've been there, done that, it would mostly be synonyms and having the same meaning, but the energy which you put in each word gives the impact of that sentence or words or duets or triads. Also, we need to make sure that when you are doing a public presentation, it's okay to be yourself when you're talking one-to-one, when you're talking to your friends. But when you are on TV or when you are speaking on a stage where at least 50 people or more are listening to you, your choice of words have also to be very, very apt. For example, today's generation or people who are in college very easily say that my life sucks. This is not a good word to use on TV. What you can rather say is, I'm devastated, or something of that sort. Or you cannot say that often in the free time we keep bitching around. Use a genuine, gentle word, which is gossiping as our favorite time pass. So always remember that these words are also to be kept in mind. You need to be genuine in your words. The word should be presentable. One-to-one, it's okay, but when you're speaking on a platform which gives you some leverage, you need to be very cautious about your choice of words. Though that doesn't fall in the vocal variety stuff, but it'll give you the ease, the smoothness with which you can carry your tonality of the voice. Now, as we said earlier that 15% is content, 50% is voice modulation, and 35% is body language. You might have observed in this speech of 30-40 minutes, which we have been together today, that it is by default that we use our gestures and body language with our voice modulation. If we go excited, I push myself forward. If I go mysterious, I go little backward. I put my shoulders slouched, and with excitement, I put my shoulders broad. So, body language is also very important aspect of using vocal varieties effectively. Of course, it's this big book when you want to talk about body language, but we'll have very few basics of body language also along with vocal variety, because these two complement each other very well. For example, I should never clasp my hands like this, because while speaking on the stage, if I'm on a standing posture, it will look little nervous. It happens most of the time that we try to put our hands together, which is a sign of nervousness. So try to put your hands apart. Putting your hands like this, open palms, gives you the sign of transparency. If you've read a book called 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐬𝑧𝒑𝒆𝒂𝒃 in earlier previous times where there were no communication words invented yet, there were times when putting your hands open gave the sign of transparency or friendship, which means I'm not hiding a weapon in my hand. So whenever you are stating any fact and your hands are open towards the public, it will give them a certain sign of belief that, okay, the person might be right. So try to use open hands also. Not only as a speaker, but also as audience, at times we see people are folding their hands and listening to it. Not a good sign of doing it, because it makes a gap between you and speaker. So sitting posture like this, perfect enough. And while speaking, try to use your gestures, relevant gestures whenever possible. So body language will definitely complement your vocal variety and voice modulation. There's a lot to talk about body language, but most important parts we have discussed a little, and now we're going to talk about facial expressions. It might not be that easy to put a smile always on your face, but at least when you start and you end a speech, which is very crucial part of your speech, as we said, first 15 seconds you get the audience attraction, conclusion makes you remembered for longer time than your speech. So at least that time try to have a smile. Of course, it has to be relevant and authentic and genuine, because if you're giving a very harsh remark or conclusion or a call of action, it cannot be complemented with a smile, but in most of the cases it can be. So smile mend the bridges like nothing else can. So other than vocal variety, try to use the small gestures, smile on your face, little body language to get the maximum impact of your vocal variety, and not just vocal variety, but your speech as a whole. Now, since we are running short of time, I would like to quickly wind it up by saying that vocal variety is very important. You need to be very focused, because it creates the maximum impact on the audience. Of course, content is important, because this is what the words you are speaking and what would be heard, but delivery makes it all the more impactful. So work most of the time on your delivery as well. Try to have your volumes up and down, try to have your pitch differentiated, try to get your speed fast or slow, and that will come out of the monotonous way of talking which we generally happen to do. Always be innovative, always be trying different things with your vocal variety. Understand this one thing, that when you are experimenting with your vocal variety, when you will be mastering this, you will be much better a speaker than you are. And to be the best version of yourself, you need to work upon your vocal variety as well. And when we say rehearse or practice, it is not only about the content, it is also about the delivery. And we also got to know today that body language is the best complementing aspect of public speaking for vocal variety. So whenever you are using vocal variety, try to complement it with the perfect gestures, body language, and you will rock. The whole idea is work on your vocal variety, work on your volume, energy, excitement, works on your pitch, work on your scale, work on your speed, and you will be ready to rock. We had few questions yesterday. I would like to quickly answer those questions before I leave. And some of the questions were, how do I transit from one idea to another? Before that, I would also like to tell you that if you also have any questions, you can DM me on Khushal Lalwani. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. You can put your messages there. I would be very glad to answer your questions in this program and in those platforms also. So the question was, how do I transition from one thought to another? The way we talked yesterday about how we need a transition is very important. So transition is basically a sentence or a word which gets us from one idea to another. For example, I'm talking about climate change and I want to take up the action. So transition line would be, so now since we know what is happening with us, we also need to know what is to be done. And then I give you the examples or solutions. And it could be very simple. So one incident of your childhood and one incident of your college life. So after you complete your incident of childhood, you say, likewise, or similarly, this also happened to me in. So this is how you transition. You just don't stop your school life and start your college life. Or you don't stop talking about problem and start immediately on solution. You give that transition line, which is very, very important. Another question which I got was, how do I make my starting and end powerful? So we talked a lot about make your start powerful, make your end powerful, but how do I do that? So ask a question that immediately gets the attention of the audience. The question has to be impactful, or give them a quotation or some idiom or some lessons, some learning of your life in very quick one sentence. That will get your attention of the audience. My favorite line is, life may be rude, but I am the dude. So during the college times, it is a very amazing line. People listen to you and they get immediately hooked up. Okay, I want to know how it's this dude talking. So amazing line to start with. It could be idiom, quotation. It could be any one-liner, any punchline, any joke for that instance, or any saying from some famous person. Be the person, be the change you want to see in the world, or something like that. How do you end powerful? Give them the message. Having said all this, today I'll be going and switching on my AC before I leave this place. So you give them a call to action or a message which is very loud and clear. Again, that can also be a quotation, that can also be a saying, that can also be a proverb or anything of that sort. So that is how you can start or end very effectively. So we'll have more questions hopefully tomorrow, and I would urge and request you to put any questions if you have on my Instagram and Facebook DMs. The spelling is Khushal, 𝐒𝐿, LALWANI. Looking forward to your and our growth together. Thank you so much.